Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Beth Galella from Bristol Myers Squibb and co-leader of the Pediatric Working Group. I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker today, Biplab Mitra from Celgene. Before I introduce Biplab, I just would like to note that at the conclusion of the webinar, you'll receive an email from Mahalia with a feedback survey. It's important to the speakers as well as to us as moderators to ensure the quality and the value of our webinar series. So we really would appreciate your feedback. So with that, Biplab Mitra is a principal research scientist in drug product development at Celgene Corporation in New Jersey. Prior to joining Celgene, he was a scientist in pharmaceutical product development at Eli Lilly and Company in Indiana. He leads development of early and late-stage clinical and intended commercial formulations and processes for small molecule NCEs. His areas of interest include miniaturized dosage forms, patient-centric drug delivery, dosing flexibility, low-dose formulations and processes, enabling dosage forms, and mechanics of granulation and compaction. He received his PhD in industrial and physical pharmacy from Purdue University, Indiana. And with that, Biplab, please go ahead and start your presentation.
Thanks, Beth, for the nice introduction. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, for joining the webinar. In my presentation today, I will focus on how we can overcome the small size challenge of miniaturized tablets and use that for the patient's benefit. Just give me a sec. Do you see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This picture here is showing the smallness of 1.2 to 3 millimeter size miniaturized tablets as compared to a small size traditional tablets and the size 3 capsules. Those are considered small in commercial space. In today's presentation, I will call the dosage form simply as mini tablets rather than miniaturized tablets. Some of the basic advantages of mini tablets are listed in this box here. I'm not planning to go through in detail. This slide here is basically showing some of the commercially available mini tablet products. Interestingly, all these products are of approximately 2 millimeter size mini tablets and either filled in capsules or sachet or stick packs. So what mini tablets could offer? So mini tablets could improve experience of patients who have swallowing difficulties, such as pediatric patients, geriatric patients, or patients with throat or neck cancer. Mini tablets could also enable the clinical and commercial drug product development. Dispensing as needed amount of single mini tablet products would allow flexible dosing in the clinic. It would also allow small increment in dosing in early dose finding studies. Use of multiple mini tablet products as appropriate ratios would enable combination therapy. And once the dose is determined, mini tablets could be transformed to traditional mini tablets if intended, or it can be used as is. It could also use for controlling the release profile or even bypassing or minimizing the GI transit time. Mini tablet will also help speed to the clinic because fewer dosage strengths may need to be developed. And also, if we can implement the extemporaneous preparation in the clinic, that would minimize the package stability study. So in combination, this could potentially shorten the development time, and that's how could speed to the clinic. So now, how we can use the smallness of the mini tablets for patients' benefits. So we want to enhance the solubility experience and decrease excipients burden in pediatric patients. Administering fewer and smaller size mini tablets would help us achieve that. Also, in early clinical trials, we may desire to have wider dosing flexibility, and developing small size mini tablets and low dose mini tablets would help us with that aspect. However, this warrants improved formulation and process design understanding, and we need to understand how to overcome the manufacturability and characterization issues associated with the small size mini tablets. We need to understand the mini tablet size and the content uniformity relationship. Also, we need to determine what's the minimum number of mini tablets in a dosage unit that is usable and acceptable for dosage uniformity or dosing variability. So in this slide, I will focus on mini tablet developing design considerations. Typically, pediatric formulation development initiates after an adult product is already late in development, and this could offer significant advantage. And in most of the cases, the adult formulation is a solid dosage form, and transformation of that into mini tablets as a pediatric dosage form would help the team to leverage the learning from the adult program, and that could minimize the development work. So this flow chart here lists some of the designing considerations for mini tablet development. Is not an exhaustive list by any means. The formulation needs to be palatable to the pediatric population. The excipients we would include and their level should be acceptable for the age group. We need to consider how we want to deliver the mini tablets to the patient, or how the caregiver can handle it. Need to consider the stability as a bulk, packaged material, or even in-use stability. And lastly, how to address the small size related formulation process and quality control challenges. So this box here showing that in addition to typically used excipients, mini tablets as a pediatric dosage form could have other excipients like sweetener or other functional excipients. And the processing could be, it could be just blending, or some granulation could be involved. So at this stage, the challenge is that considering the small tooling size of mini tablets, having superior flowability of the powder while we can ensure the small particle size of the powder is the greatest challenge. When we move to compression, characterization is the big challenge. Also, the challenges come from the low throughput that could um, pose some segregation risk, and this could involve some equipment modification as well. When we move the mini tablets to the coating operation, so the coating could be for aesthetic or functional for both reasons. So designing or defining the mini tablet shape and what integrity we need to have for successful coating, how we control the coating weight gain or the coating uniformity are some of the challenges associated with the coating operation. In terms of packaging and dispensing, if we think about small field volume or mass or fewer number of mini tablets, it's challenging to fill those in acceptable size package, even if we think of a larger size of capsules to help with the handling of the caregiver. So in this presentation today, I will mainly focus on the compression operation and characterization of mini tablets. If time allows, I will touch a little bit on the packaging option. This slide here basically is showing is that all the test methods for traditional tablets in pharmacopoeia may not directly be applicable to mini tablets. So I have color coded in two different classes here. So the methods that are color coded in green may be somewhat directly applicable. However, the question is that how many mini tablets is a good number for all this testing? So that's an open question. The yellow coded methods are some methods where additional attention needed. Let's say for friability, should we use the tablet method or should we use the granule method? Or do we need glass beads to be added? For disintegration testing, typical mesh size is not applicable, so we may need a small mesh size or even some type of automated system to record the time, because it's expected that the disintegration time would be very, very fast, and manually recording those could be very, very challenging. There is a test, it's called mass variability, and for physical reasons, it may not be applicable to mini tablets. So now I will focus on mini tablet compression. Here I'm showing a picture of few sizes of mini tablet tooling on the top. And the box here is showing some of the calculation for compression planning purpose. So one information I would like to focus here is that all this calculation is based on a 24-station compression machine, and the assumption is that we'll run at 60 RPM. So I just want to focus on the throughput. When we talk about 1.2 millimeter or 1.5 millimeter size tooling, so the throughput could be very, very low. It may not be more than 2 kilograms per hour. While for 2 millimeter or 2.5 millimeter size mini tablet, it could be as high as 5 to 6 kilograms per hour. In terms of tooling design, special attention needs to be given for the number of tips per tooling. Do we need anti-sticking properties of the tooling and how we achieve that? Do we want to use different composition of the tooling material, or do we want to coat the face of the tooling tip? How we define the cup depth, that could influence the sticking or picking behavior of the mini tablets. We may need to use shallower field temp. Also, the compression machine may require modification of the ejection cap, the tablet breakup, etc. In addition, we need to have appropriate characterization tools. We may need high precision balance and micrometer, a hardness tester with a low load cell, disintegration tester, etc. One unique observation we may experience when we look at the stratified content uniformity data, because of the very low throughput, we may see low or high low potency in the beginning of the run. And a startup rejection or discard may be required for very, very low throughput operation. So in next few slides, I will share learning from a few case studies. So in a study, we manufactured 1.2 to 2.5 millimeter size mini tablets using direct compression process. And we used 3 to 30% drug loading in the formulation. These images here show the bulk mini tablets we produce. So basically, we produce 4 different sizes. So if we talk about the mass of this mini tablets, it's 1.2 milligram. The next one is 2.4 milligram, 6 milligram, and 10 milligram weight of individual mini tablets. This plot here showing the individual mini tablet weights of 20 batches. It shows clearly that the mini tablets weight distribution is better for the larger size tablets. So from left to right, the distribution is tighter and tighter. However, interestingly, even the smallest size mini tablets that we are talking about 1.2 millimeter diameter and 1.2 milligram weight still are within plus minus 7.5% weight range. So that's pretty impressive. For this, I already mentioned that sensitive microbalance is required. One drawback is that feedback loop for weight control may not be usable for mini tableting. So in a subsequent study, we evaluated high shear weight granulation process parameter using model drugs, where we evaluated drug loading and drug particle size distribution also. And the granules we produced were compressed into 1.2, 1.5, and 2 millimeter mini tablets. So this plot here is showing the powder flowability. So basically, the FFC value that determined using FT4 equipment and the Hosner ratio of the final blend. So the line here is showing is that, so basically the yellow are the FFC values and the blue numbers are the Hosner ratios. So FFC values of around 5.4 and above, and the Hosner ratio of 1.41 or below. So all these formulations compress very well. However, the formulation that had FFC value of around 4 and Hosner ratio of around 1.6, we could not compress. So this formulation needed glidant to be added to the formulation for us to enable the compression operation. In one of our published study, we characterize mini tablets for solid fraction, tensile strength, friability, and disintegration time. And in this study, we manufactured both ODT and traditional mini tablets and compressed into 3 millimeter size. So this left plot here is showing that the tensile strength increases exponentially with solid fraction. That follows the RD model. For the friability testing, we use the traditional friability method for the tablets, and it's showing that we can achieve 1% or lower friability for tablets with tensile strength of greater than 1 megapascal. This the right plot here is showing the disintegration time, and what is showing is that as long as the mini tablet tensile strength is 2 megapascal or less, the disintegration time is less than 60 seconds. For the ODT formulation, you can see here is even throughout the profile is less than 30 seconds. For this study, we used a special disintegration time tester, is Pharma ODT 100. That's typically used for ODT formulation. So in the same study, the effects of API PSD, loading, and mini tablet strength on content uniformity was evaluated. So the 3 millimeter size mini tablets with 30 to 350 micron API PSD at 7 to 30% drug loading were manufactured in this study. This plot is basically showing is that anything outside of this red dotted box have acceptable CU variability for single mini tablet administration. So as we are interested to improve solubility as well as have wider flexibility in dosing, so in a subsequent study, we challenged the CU variability of even smaller size mini tablets. Here we are talking about 1.2, 1.5, 2.2, and 2.5 millimeter mini tablets with lower drug loading. In this study, we used 3 to 25% drug loading, and drug substance particle size was varying between 80 and 140 micron D90. This plot here showing the stratified content uniformity of 20 batches we manufactured. If we pay careful attention, so here in the x-axis from left to right, the ibuprofen concentration in the mini tablets increases, and you can see that the variability is getting slightly better in general. From top to bottom here, the mini tablet size increases. So the very top row is 1.2 millimeter, and then the bottom row is 2.5 millimeter size. And in this direction, the variability also improved. So basically, from smaller size with lower drug loading, the CU variability is improving towards the larger size with high drug loading formulation. We did the trend analysis, and this shows that the mini tablet CU/RST improved as ibuprofen loading and mini tablets mass increased. And these two factors showed to be statistically significant. However, the CU/RSTs of any of these batches are not acceptable for single unit administration. Now, we need to determine that was the minimum number of mini tablets from these batches could be in a composite doses form so that we can have acceptable CU/RST. So in this table, what I have included is some of the worst case CU variability from the previous plot. I listed here the first four, these numbers here. And what we did some statistical simulation to estimate if we use 5, 10, 15, or 20 mini tablets in a composite doses unit, what could be the CU variability? And some of those selected conditions were also confirmed experimentally. In this table here, all the numbers that are in parentheses are experimental values. The red numbers that considered unacceptable for CU standpoint, and any numbers that are green are considered acceptable. So the statistical estimation showed that a composite doses unit of 10 mini tablets of any strength or size would have acceptable CU/RST. So we are seeing all these RSTs are less than 4. If you look at the estimated CU/RST and the experimental values, this clearly shows that the estimated CU/RSTs are more conservative than the experimental values. So the experimental values are smaller than the estimated values. What it tells us also that a composite of 10 mini tablets corresponds to, for example, a total excipient burden of not more than 100 milligram. Even if we think about the largest size mini tablets we considered in this study. So that's a 2.5 millimeter size, 10 milligram weight mini tablet. So 10 of those will be 100 milligram. If that we dose, so the pediatric patient will get only 100 milligram dose. So that could help reducing the excipients burden. So now I will focus on a hypothetical scenario of dose flexibility. So in this figure here, I'm just considering for simplicity that we are using 1.2 millimeter size mini tablets. We have two different strengths of mini tablets. One is 0.036 milligram, and the other one is 0.3 milligram. And when you fill in different sizes of mini tablets, we could get from 108 through 354 mini tablets, depending upon what size of capsule shell we are talking about. And if we look at the doses unit strength, so for size 4, we can get the lowest dose is 3.9 milligram. if we fill it all the way, up to 106 milligram if we consider the 0.3 milligram mini tablet. So that's pretty wide range already. In addition, if we can introduce a placebo and have a minimum of 10 active mini tablets and the remaining space is filled with placebo, we can achieve a dosing range vary from 0.36 milligram to 106 milligram. And in addition to that, if we can implement the counting technique for feeding mini tablets either in capsule or sachet or any other container, that would help us getting very large flexibility in terms of dosing. The last row here is showing that as we have more and more mini tablets to fill in capsules, so we will have more flexibility in terms of error in filling. For example, if we fill 354 mini tablets in size 0 capsules, we may have plus minus 35 variability. Still, we will be within plus minus 10% of the dose tolerance. So now I will talk a little bit about the dissolution method. The message here is that the dissolution method that developed for traditional size tablets may not be usable for mini tablets. Here we try to use the USP dissolution method, just decreasing the media volume from 900 ml to 500 ml. It's just showing that has very little discriminating power. And the left plot here is showing that this method could discriminate only between 3 to 25 milligram total dose if we consider 10 mini tablets per composite. So to basically understand the impact of all the variables we were studying in this study, so we refined the method and developed a basket method, and using that method we were able to discriminate the extreme DOE design parameters. That's showing in the right bottom plot here. So now I will touch a little bit on the packaging and delivery challenges. This figure here is showing a 1.2 millimeter size mini tablets on our fingertip. Is 2x magnification, so that tells us how tiny the mini tablets could be. And this poses a significant challenge in terms of packaging and delivery. So measuring correctly the intended number of mini tablets is critical for dosing accuracy. I already mentioned that this small size poses a significant challenge in terms of handling and administering. So identifying appropriate dispensing and or packaging options for clinic, pharmacy, and even for the patients or caregiver is important. So when we talk about potential packaging and delivery options in the clinic, we could think of extemporaneous preparation in the clinic. Somehow, if we can have a counting mechanism or device or even weighing, and those can be filled in either capsules, sachet, or some kind of canisters. So to enable that, we can just ship the bulk material to the clinic and rely on the clinical pharmacist for the dispensing operation. And this could give us significant flexibility in terms of dosing at the clinic. And if there is a counting device available, I'm showing here on the right picture here, that would help with the extemporaneous prep also in the clinic. When we talk about potential commercial packaging and delivery options, so we could think about the flexible dosing. When a flexible dosing is desired, a mechanical or electronic dispensing device could be considered. However, the number of mini tablets to be dispensed from the device to deliver the desired dose may need to be adjusted, controlled, or logged by the caregiver to minimize or eliminate the dosing error. When you think about the fixed dose, it could be very traditional packaging, fixed number of mini tablets, could be delivered in the form of capsule shells, stick packs, sachet, or canister, or any other suitable primary packaging. So in this slide, I'm showing some of the mini tablets filling equipment. These are widely used capsule filling machine. So the left one here that fills mini tablets by volume. It can handle 1 to 3 products per capsule, so you can have combo dosing as well. However, these two equipment here, one is Bosch and one is Harrow Hofleger, that can fill mini tablets by counting and up to 3 products per capsule. So this using one of these equipment will give us tremendous flexibility in terms of dosing. This right figure here is showing a stick pack filling machine. It fills mini tablets by counting. There is a special head designed for the counting operation, and it can fill 1 to 2 products in each stick pack. So this also can be used for a single mini tablet product or a combination mini tablet product. So to summarize, mini tablets as small as 1.2 millimeter diameter or 1.2 milligram weight can be manufactured with adequate robustness. Appropriate tools are available for adequately characterizing the mini tablets. And what we found from our study is that at least 10 mini tablets in a composite would achieve acceptable doses uniformity. Small size and low dose mini tablets could be considered for wide dosing flexibility. And administering fewer number of smaller size mini tablets would decrease excipient burden on pediatric patients. With that, I'd like to thank everyone to join and for the opportunity to present today. And I'd like to take any question you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Biplab. I'll go ahead and turn things over to Beth, who will manage the Q&A session.
Okay, thank you, Mahalaya, and thank you very much, Biplab, for a very informative presentation on the benefits and challenges of mini tablets. So we have a few questions here. Okay, on an earlier slide, you had mentioned lower excipient burden as a benefit. Can you expand on this, since it seems that the drug load was equal to or less than the adult tablet?
Yeah, so what we meant by is that when we develop a smaller size mini tablets, and if we can administer fewer of them, can I go back to this slide? Beth?
I believe so.
Sure, go ahead. I'll go. Yep.
I think this slide will help us to explain that basically. So here from this table, what we found is that if we can use 10 mini tablets in a composite, that would give us acceptable dosing variability. And if we consider 10 mini tablets or even the largest size we evaluated here, the 10 milligram size is only will be 100 milligram weight that a pediatric patient could get. Again, the constraint is that what's the dose we are talking about. If we are thinking about 100 milligram dose or 200 milligram dose, then this may not be directly applicable. But if the dose is low enough or reasonable, if we can increase the drug loading and minimize the mini tablet size and number of mini tablets to be dosed, that would help to decrease the experience burden in the patient. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next question. How much concern do you have with palatability of standard mini tablets as opposed to ODT mini tablets?
So the palatability question needs to be addressed in the very beginning when we design the formulation. So that comes with the determination of the bitterness of the API, right? So if the API is very bitter, just changing the composition or adding some sweetener may not help. However, if the API is not very bitter, just the traditional mini tablet or even ODT, the ODT formulation typically has very, very high content of sweetener in it. Should not expect significant challenge. But if the API is really, really bitter and we need some kind of API coating kind of technology to mask the bitterness, then not doing that and then developing a ODT could pose significant palatability challenge. So it all depends upon how bad is the API in terms of bitterness.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have another question from Thin Tune. How is tensile strength determined?
So is the traditional method that used for typical tablets. You determine the breaking force, you know the thickness and the diameter, and basically use the available equation that's in the literature. So the one important thing is that, as I mentioned already, that you need to use a sensitive hardness tester. In many of my studies, we used either Instron or Zwick or even hardness tester with maybe 50 Newton load cell, so that's sensitive enough to give you the reliable hardness value, and also need to know accurately the thickness of the mini tablets. So all this goes into the Pitt and Newton equation to give you the tensile strength.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned weight control may not be feasible. Can you further explain why?
I believe I meant that the feedback loop for weight control during the compression operation may not be feasible because the way mini tableting compression operation is that it's very difficult to get a single mini tablet and then place it to the automated weight hardness thickness checker. So that's the only constraint why this may not be feasible to use for mini tableting.
Okay, thank you. Would you recommend hardness of mini tablets be considered as in-process control parameter?
Could you please repeat the question?
Sure. Would you recommend that hardness of mini tablets be considered as an in-process control parameter?
Yes, definitely. But once you have a developed process and your formulation is locked, you can use solid fraction as well. That is little bit less challenging to do. So you just need to determine the thickness basically in that case. So that will be more simplified, but you need to have a really well established process at that point when you may be able to switch from hardness testing to solid fraction testing.
Okay, understood. Have you found that there is a minimum tensile strength that will withstand traditional coating pan processes?
If we look at the friability data I just shared here, so this left one is ODT, so we don't need to consider. This is also ODT, we don't need to consider for coating. But if you look here, so we got all the tablets tensile strength was varying somewhere between 1 to 7-ish. And if you look at the friabilities, all of them are less than 0.25%. So if we go by the friability testing and use the traditional concept, we should be able to coat these mini tablets with enough robustness. However, based on my experience, we should try to be close to around 2 megapascal at, I should say, around 0.9 solid fraction for successful coating operation. Again, it also depends what coating operation you would like to use. If it's a fluid bed coating, you may need little bit higher integrity of mini tablets. If you use just the pan coating, you may be able to live with slightly weaker mini tablets.
Okay, thank you. You had mentioned that you used a smaller mesh size for disintegration testing. What was the mesh size that was used?
I believe it was 100 mesh. I'm sorry, 100 micron.
Okay, thank you. Have you observed any issues with mini tablets floating upon introduction into the dissolution vessel? And if so, how have you overcome that?
We have seen, I should not say it's floating, but on the top of the medium, but it's kind of, you can see some kind of buoyancy in the medium that it doesn't settle like a traditional tablet. So if you see regular tablet dissolution after disintegration, you see the granules floating. So basically, from the very beginning, the mini tablet kind of behaves like granules that comes out of the tablet. So you see that kind of flow, or the mini tablets are swimming in the media, basically. So I should not say it floats on top of the media.
Okay, so was there anything that you needed to do to try and mitigate that, or help assist with the wettability or introduction into the vessel?
We haven't done anything specifically, but if you look at one of the method we developed later, that already had a little bit of SLS in it, so that could have helped.
I'm sorry, what was in it?
Little bit of sodium lauryl sulfate was in the media,
okay.
so that could have helped, but that was not introduced to minimize the wettability issue by any means.
Okay, Okay. There's one final question. So have you had an experience with having not good content uniformity due to segregation within the blend?
We haven't experienced anything yet. However, if you look at this one, this plot here, so it's also to some extent you can say segregating, but you may see it only in the very beginning of the compression operation. And that also due to the very, very low throughput of some of the mini tablet sizes. I believe this happens, or it could happen for any tableting operation. However, when the throughput is very, very high, you really don't catch this region, because by the time you start collecting your sample, you run out this material already. But because it's mini tablet and throughput is very, very low, when you collect your first sample, you can get some sample from this region, and you could see either lower potency or higher potency. However, over time, it should stabilize. I'm sure you can see segregation, because we see segregation for traditional tablet also, but that's not my experience as of now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think that's all the questions that we have so far. That was a lot of great questions. Thank you, everyone.